feel like for block weapons to be worth using, they should allow you to animation cancel out of any attack or recovery frames animation and give you shorter stun frames. Stun frames? Wait, what? Do you mean getting stunned? Or shorter stun frames? I mean, obviously, they're not suggesting to nerf the stun on blocking weapons, right? Alright, this is weird post already, but interesting. I mean, obviously, when it comes to animation canceling and, you know, what you can do with the block weapon combos and everything, I feel like this is always a good conversation to have. But yeah, let's continue this post. Most people prefer fencing not only because of the timing, I think, but because it allows you to stop enemy attacks in the majority of cases. Getting a free gun strike or some extra damage is huge when you can get it off. Block weapons should give you the ability to cancel out recovery frames from previous blocks, rolls, and stun animations faster than fencing weapons. I mean, I'm not 100% sure how necessary that is. I'm pretty sure block weapons are already pretty reactive. But, I mean, hey, when it comes to canceling out animations, hey, we can always discuss that. I guess it depends on what weapon they're talking about here, because obviously some melee weapons are slower and harder to cancel, you know, animation cancel than other melee weapons, mainly the Thunderhammer. By this I mean in those situations where you can get tagged by a tiny little hit from a whip Tyrannid, for example, and just start getting tossed like you don't weigh 1,000 pounds, you instead should have a different animation or window where you can block or roll to end it early. Can't you? Isn't blocking really good against the whip Tyrannids? Like, I thought blocking is like blocking's really good for combos, obviously, especially Tyrannid combos. So I'm not too sure what they're getting at here. Where you get tagged by a tiny little hit from a whip Tyrannid and just start getting tossed around. I'm pretty sure even if you get hit by a whip at first, you can still reaction block, right? Also, being able to block quickly enough to go through entire attack chains, like the quick little 2-hit chain from whip Tyrannids, would be so nice. It would give blocking weapons a stand your ground kind of feel. Wait, it already has that. It already has that. Interesting. I mean, I guess this person is playing block weapons a little bit too slow, I think. But yeah, it already has. It literally can block like the full whip combo. Blocking is just as good for reactions than parrying. But yeah, obviously to get like damage or a gun strike out of it, you would need to perfect dodge. But yeah, okay. I think I agree, but I also disagree, because it's like this example they're using at the end here about the stand your ground, it already has that. But as far as like the animation canceling and recovery frames for certain blocking attacks, like mainly Thunderhammer, I agree. But I think blocking's already really good with stand your ground type combo blocks. If the payout for fencing weapons is free damage, the payout for blocking should be all around quicker weapon handling and melee mobility prowess. I like that idea. I feel like melee just across the board should be able to do that, but like as far as quicker weapon handling. But I also kind of agree with what they're getting at here, but there is a good payout for blocking, and there is a stand your ground thing, because you get a very nice, you know, because of adrenaline surge. That'll stand your ground pretty well. Or at the very least, it would be nice if this 3 stacks you get from blocking right now, it's 2 stacks, don't end in a massive... Dude, this was made 4 days ago, by the way, guys. It's 2 stacks of blocking. Right now, don't end in a massive explosion, but instead are active for a certain time and can be refreshed. Wait, what? It would be nice if the 3 stacks you get from blocking right now don't end in a massive explosion, but instead are active for a certain time and can be refreshed. It can be! What? Wait, no, it is active for a certain time, because when you get the adrenaline surge explosion, you will still have a golden weapon for a bit, and you still get like 1 or 2 seconds from... Yeah, dude, this is a wild post. That way you would at least get enough extra consistent damage to make it worth it. I do think they have a good question about, you know, melee recovery frames and being able to animation cancel and everything like that. Should blocking have a quicker handling with their melee weapons than fencing? I think it's pretty comparable. There's not really like... I'm pretty sure there's not a stat here where it's like, yeah, if you're using blocking weapons, they're actually slower. They're not. Most blocking weapons are faster. This is interesting. I'm gonna have to go in the comments for this one, because I am a little bit confused here. it's definitely 2 stacks for the Adrenaline Surge. You can block whip combos with blocking. It is very, very reactive in that sense. And it does have a stand your ground feel, because I think blocking is pretty interruptible as far as like actually blocking attacks. You can sit there and block attacks for as long as you're able to do it. Like, they can't really budge you in that sense. I mean, even with fencing, even with parrying, I guess with gun strikes, you have like gun strikes you can still get punished with. Like, parrying is cool, but it's not really a stand your ground type. I think blocking is way more stand your ground. Yeah, let's go in the comments on this. I need some clarification here. This is wild. My biggest beef with block weapons is the gaunts. You can't kill them with block. Fencing weapons give you the kill in the armor segment once per parry on the normal gaunt attack. I mean, dude, I honestly do like doing that. With fencing weapons, just sitting there and just parrying over and over again. I don't know if that is... I don't know if that's like a huge drawback for block weapons. As long as you know like the melee weapon you're using, and as long as you can just traditionally get gun strikes back over and over again, you should be fine. However, for the contested health reasons of like the Thunderhammer, I do agree. The blocking Thunderhammers, the worst thing is to get like a whole bunch of gaunts just steadily like spawning in and just giving you chip damage that you can't really hit back. Like, you honestly can't really defend yourself against gaunts really well, depending on the spawn. Like, like a small pack of gaunts, yeah, you can just get some gun strikes. But if you're like fighting gaunts that are just continuously spawning in, with a blocking hammer, it is a bit of a pain. And I know it's a me issue, but I'm always shredded by them unless I'm running Power Sword. The block charge is wasted if I try to AoE sweep them, though I need to make sure I get the 2 stacks and then boom, the big guy. It's just tedious. Boom, the big guy. Not that it's not doable or viable, it's just nicer to clean up with a fencing weapon without all the extra effort. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of extra. Extra effort is kind of a weird way to put it, but yeah, for blocking weapons, you just need to keep track of, your stacks. That's pretty much it. For fencing, you don't have that, so that is, I guess, extra effort in a sense. There's more setup. I will definitely admit that. For blocking, there's a lot of setup. You want to make sure you're, hitting combos or blocking combos that you are aware of and all that. So you really do kind of look for like a certain attack pattern to really take advantage of blocking. And that's already more, mind work than you need with fencing. With fencing, it's just parry, gun strike. That's it. That's pretty much it. But yeah, I will admit with blocking, it's definitely a little bit difficult to deal with gaunts. With the blocking Thunderhammer specifically, every other blocking weapon's fine. It's really just the blocking Thunderhammer. As some people have already mentioned, perfect blocks already let you immediately take action after the block. It's also worth pointing out that even with fencing, a lot of enemy attack sequences don't immediately grant you the gun strike. Sometimes you need to parry a whole sequence of 3 attacks before you can get the gun strike. That is a good point, because yeah, if you try to do it after like the 1 or 2 attack, you'll just get punished. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Block actually lets you retaliate after 2 perfect blocks without waiting for a gun strike, so you actually get to turn the tables sooner. Yeah, I mean, that is pretty interesting, 100%. That is a very good point. Yeah, for gun strikes, especially with like parry gun strikes and everything, you really need to find your opportunity for it. A lot of people can definitely shuffle too many enemies with their parries. So, like, for me, if I see a fair amount of enemies around me, I try to parry multiple of them and then go for a gun strike, but even in that case, you can still parry multiple enemies, go for a gun strike, and get hit by an enemy you didn't notice. So it is kind of an interesting conversation. Like, if you're actually surrounded by majors, which one would you rather have, blocking or fencing? And I think blocking, honestly, the fact that, yeah, it does let you retaliate a little bit sooner, and not to mention, since you get Adrenaline Surge and you get armor back, it's a lot easier to trade. I mean, with gun strikes, you can also get armor back, but that's if it's a kill shot gun strike, right? With blocking, it doesn't even care. You just block twice, and then you just roll in there with the Adrenaline Surge, get a nice little stun there. Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a good point, 100%. Most block weapons can stun a Terminus level threat. Is this true? Is this true? Okay. Fencing weapons go for a gun strike, but that doesn't always interrupt an attack sequence. Yeah, that's true. That's 100% true. Sometimes you can just eat face going for a gun strike. Plus, getting an armor segment back is infinitely better than possibly getting stun locked for taking a gun strike over a perfect dodge. Yeah, dude, I 100% agree with that. Without, like, armor reinforcement, gun strikes are very risky sometimes. Or, at the very least, with bulwark, I think I really enjoy going for gun strikes just because parry, you can get the shock, you can get intimidating aura, and then not to mention you also debuff the enemy with parry. But, like, for example, if I was using, yeah, like, Thunderhammer, you can 100% stun with that, with just slams, with the assault class. But I'm trying to think here. Like, if you go for if you have a blocking chain sword, you get 2 stacks. You go for the Carnifex. Not 100% sure if the Carnifex gets stunned there. Is this real? Dude, honestly, this is so funny, dude. Like, I was reading this post, and I'm thinking, wow, like, they're kind of off with some of this stuff, but like recovery frames for melee weapons is always fun to talk about because I think melee combat in this game seems pretty easy, but if you actually get into it and really break it down, it can get really complicated when it comes to attack windows, recovery frames, and everything like that. But it's so funny. Like, I'm sitting there reading this post, and I'm like, oh wow, I think everyone has more to learn about block weapons. And yeah, this definitely this includes me as well. 100%. I'm not 100% sure if this is true or not. The way I was stunning Terminus level enemies with block weapons was using the assault class and not so much about adrenaline surge. But yeah, that's definitely interesting perspective. Plus, getting an armor segment back is infinitely better than possibly getting stun locked. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you can 100% get stun locked with the gun strike for sure. Dude, yeah, when it comes to, like, blocking versus fencing conversations, it mostly just boils down to, like, your class, the weapon you're using. Like, dude, I think fencing weapons are better than, like, the blocking Thunderhammer in most cases. But, like, when it comes to damage, it's not. You know what I mean? So it's, like, I can understand where people get a little bit confused with blocking weapons still. I can 100% understand that. As far as when I use blocking weapons, it's, like, every now and then. I still just like using parry gun strikes because I like debuffing the enemy, and a lot of the times I have, like, a perk that is built around gun strikes, like armor reinforcement, or, you know, when you gun strike, you get extra damage, like that sort of thing. I've really, also, by the way, with Sniper, one of my favorite things to do is get the parry, gun strike, and then headshot with the bolt. Like, with the bolt sniper. It feels really, really good to pull that off. That is very fun. But as far as, like, protecting myself, dude, this is interesting. Like, I never really considered that blocking is probably even better at protecting yourself than fencing is. Fencing is just essentially easier to use. Dude, I don't know, guys. Whenever I think I have, like, a pulse on the conversation for blocking versus fencing conversations, somebody just mentions something like, hey, well, you can get stun locked if you go for a gun strike, and it's like, well, you're right. That is actually a pretty huge risk to going for gun strikes. But yeah, I mean, at the same time, blocking weapons, I can understand where blocking weapons for most people are still a little weird. Dude, I'm going to play some blocking. I think I'm going to play some blocking today. I might go with some blocking Vanguard or something. I'm pretty good with melee attacks for the most part, as far as, like, actually knowing which combos to throw and everything like that. I'm mostly better with the blocking Thunderhammer, even though there's not really any combos with that. You just block and then throw an attack. But, like, the combat knife going for some light swings into some heavy swings feels really good with blocking. Just with the extra damage you get for the blocking variant makes the combat knife feel very appealing. And not to mention Sniper, Vanguard, both have some pretty good melee perks for that. So I think overall, when it comes to blocking weapons, players are starting to understand it a little bit more. But this post was definitely this post was definitely like a blocking versus fencing post, but they didn't really understand blocking all the way. So I don't know, and I guess I don't understand blocking all the way either. Honestly, let me know in the comments if most blocking weapons can stun a Terminus level threat. I'm guessing with Adrenaline Surge. If this is true, that's very interesting. Yeah, going for Terminus stun locks is pretty cool. But for the card effects, I have a hard time believing that the blocking weapons would be better at stunning the Carnifex than repeatedly, parrying him, because the Carnifex does love to throw those melee attacks. So, I don't know. We will see. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this. Also, let me know in the comments if there's something we need to clarify here, which this is mostly a we don't understand blocking video. But obviously, there's some blocking versus fencing here. There's always going to be this conversation, man, I swear. So you can never really repeat it enough about, like, the benefits of blocking just to get people all on the same page about it. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this, and thanks for watching.